Should the Bad Boys franchise continue to ride on, or should we let it die out? Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen Bad Boys Ride or Die, what you think of it. Is it good, bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know all that. Make sure you like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're not ready to join a film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. But going right into the synopsis. After the late former captain is framed, Lara and Burnett try and clear his name, only to end up on the run themselves. And going right into positive, overall, I first got to mention, of course, Martin Lawrence, Will Smith have great chemistry as a duo in general, and how you build up all these different villains and everything that goes about with the casting is just pulling off some great performances, and that leads into some great stunts, some great cinematography with the way that action sequences are presented. There's so much creative uses of the camera and different technology that obviously we didn't have in the past that is amplifying the eccentric nature of what you can do with this as an action franchise, putting some hand camera movements, some vehicle movements, and having some great car chases, everything that can flow throughout, just with the energy that is pulled off on screen with all of these creative uses for the camera, multiple different flashbacks, or anything that pulls along the way that creates creative use of cinematography and ways to pull the franchises in a new direction, while also having callbacks to what we got in previous Bad Boys franchises and sort of tying it up with this nice bow with the callbacks and everything that is pulling on as we move some characters forward with their new direction, and each and every idea that you can pull off that has a lot of fun can pull off some nice humor that just goes about in multiple different directions and combining multiple different parallels to ideas and natures of the culture that is divided it in, and it gets pulling in some nice heartwarming moments that can really drive home the idea that are really bringing in this franchise as a whole. And the directors from this movie were the same from Bad Boys for Life, and what that all entails is something so fun and energetic with just the nature of how it is directed. It's directed well. There's many great editing techniques that really pulls this into a fast forward motion that really can hone in on what it's trying to do, what it's trying to present, and actually had me laughing quite a bit for the nature of what it's always trying to do while not really always taking itself seriously. That can really work for many different people depending on how much you're into this franchise as a whole. But going into some of the mixed elements, there's something to be said about how it doesn't take itself seriously, and so you do have to suspend your disbelief for the nature of what it is pulling you into, crazy sequences, different ideas, and what it all entails with a certain energy, with the nature of things that you don't make sense for the real world and pull you into things that really have to take you out of the story, out of the real world. I sort of had a kick out of it at sometimes, but it also went so many distances for certain times of the film that I just didn't know what to think of it, because I had to really take myself into what they were trying to do, and playing on the joke for so long was something that was ultimately weird to take into as a whole, even if it was fun and well edited. Because as big as the action sequences can be, it is trying to be really big and explosive for some of the nature of the film that it is going after, and that brings in this crocodile and certain other things that come about along the way that really can pull off this Fast and Furious franchise sort of energy that isn't necessarily the best level of intentions for what you're going with this. And if you're into the Fast and Furious recent films, maybe you'll be into the big explosive action, everything that is pulling off with all the uses it can with the equipment and new technology that we have today that can make for a good time, but sacrifice some good storytelling with how it is bringing the characters to life, how it is intermixing some ideas and contrivances that push the story forward just to bring out some great action sequences, some good fests that can make a good cinematic experience, but while still sacrificing what the good meat of a story could actually bring for this film as a whole. But going into some of the negatives, ultimately there's a couple of dry spells, especially near the beginning, where it takes a little bit for the film to build up, and some of the advertising for the film, well, I don't often take that into consideration as something that can really spoil my experience. If you're into the advertising at all, then there's a lot of stuff that can really take away the humor that we're already spoiled within the plot, especially at the beginning and other parts throughout that can ruin jokes because you've already seen them many times before, depending on what movies or what ads you have witnessed online. And so that just took away some of the moments that can really work wonders to what the magic could have been for a first-time experience, and just how that all spills out. And there's some great cinematography and editing that plays in through multiple creative shots. There was also too many shots at times that I felt like it could have flowed in a nicer manner, that it had all these creative directions with what it was utilizing with its camera shots, and whether someone was holding the camera or it was on a track or taking on this nice one-shot movement. But ultimately it was cut up in different places by either focusing on the keyboard and doing all these different close shots and all these other different shots that were nice for each of their own respective ideas, but edited as a whole, it felt a little choppy that interrupted that slight flow that could have been flowing all through, and it didn't have to be all a one-shot take or appearing to be a one-shot take, but ultimately it still was interrupted by all the uses of trying everything they could to test out all of these different camera movements, but ultimately they decide to utilize everything, and so it feels so jumbled with all of these things that doesn't necessarily make it hard to follow, but can convolute some of the ideas that they're trying to flow with the action that was already free-flowing if you choose some of the same style shots instead of every single shot they were trying to do as a whole. And so that's just my personal review on Bad Boys Ride or Die, which I have to rate a simply 7.5 out of 10, which this film as a whole, it worked for me quite effectively. But yes, there are things that are detractors that take it away from being that much better. So that's just my personal thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Bad Boys Ride or Die. Was it good, bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know that. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're already, to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. But as always, make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.